And good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Eitayo, and we're excited to be here today. Today is the last day in September, the 30th of September to be precise, and this is the last show in September, in the month of September. And we're excited, always excited. And we don't waste much time, but we tell people that it's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. We're excited to see you. Please do let us know when you join us. Let us know where you're connecting from, and let's know how you be a part of the conversation. Share your thoughts, comments, contribution, and if you do have questions, please do not hesitate to ask your questions. And I will use that opportunity to bring up our analysts. And I'm starting with the one and only TT of Niger Kids. Niger Kids, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hello. It's good to be here.
You know, Titi, you have a kind of mischievous way of doing things.
Thank you. It's a good
All right.
morning on the Good Morning Show.
Okay. And then we're also going to welcome Safety Chick. Safety Chick, good morning. Safety Chick, are you there? Good morning.
Morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes, we can
can.
hear
Yes,
you.
I can hear you clearly.
So how are
Okay.
you
Good
today?
morning, Mr. Retimi. Good morning, Mrs. Adelsi. And good morning to our amazing viewers.
And good
I'm
morning.
very
good
well.
morning.
All right, fantastic. So we're going to be talking today on something interesting, like a build up to the conversation of what we've been talking about since we started the week. We're talking about dealing with office politics. Dealing with office politics. I know Safety Chick has a lot to share on this, and I'm also definitely sure that Titi has a lot of stories to share on this. So I would like you all to just stay tuned, pay attention. We will be back to talk about the topic of the day, which is dealing with office politics. But please, before we come back, we're going to take the news. And I would like you to share your comments. Let us know where you're connecting from, where you're streaming from. We're streaming from Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa to the entire world. I would like to welcome you to the show. If it's your first time, there's something called the bell of, and we will be willing and excited to ring the bell of blessing to you. So let's go for the news, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Education Show. We just got back from the news and we will go straight to the headlines. So, fantastic headlines. What do you think about them?
Let me tell you the first one that caught my eye. It's one where it says they pick pastor as education minister.
As if the pastor does not have any other qualification. Like he's only a pastor that he is.
You know, the first thing that I didn't know that to be annoyed or I just didn't know. I was in a webinar over the weekend, and one of the things that was deliberated on was the fact that Nigeria as a country has never had an educationist, a seasoned ex-school administrator or as minister of education, and they feel that can be part of the issues. That person that can see that balance between the curriculum they are doing, having done that role extensively. So when someone now comes and say, pastor, it just tells me that there's no real value placed, because if the person was pastor and then more of a seasoned educationist,
What if they only wrote pastor as what if they just use that pastor to trigger the audience? Because they didn't say any other thing. And many times pastors have other qualifications aside being pastors.
So, they use that one to look for our trouble, and so we'll give them a bit of that. I think it's important that the value that's placed on education starts with who you choose as the aim of leadership. And it's also driven by what you want to achieve. If you want, if you're sitting in a company and you want to drive the company during a period of intense growth, you usually look for a leader that has been used to leading people in a time of growth. As against when you're looking for someone, when your company is trying to stabilize, then you look for someone who to lead it, who is used to stability. So I think, whatever the case is, let's ensure that we put the right people at the aim of leadership. I think that's where I'll just leave that point. I think another one was school in a mess. And yeah, I think that was a funny headline, because if you've abandoned something for a few months now, it will be in a mess now. So when you're going back, you have to plan, how you're going to clean it up. How you're going to clean it up and do things like that. And the last comment that made me laugh was one from UK saying that health advisors advising that missing school will be more important than the COVID.
Yes,
that they lose more from missing school. I just feel that that's government propaganda. When UK government has really been pushing to get all their citizens back in work, in school, as a way to just restart the economy. So they are bringing up all sorts of things to show that people need to go back to normal. I just feel that might be a bit extreme. When you say that missing school has more implications than COVID. You can only say that to the living. That's the way I look at it. You can only say that to the living. That doesn't matter when you are there. So I think it's important that we balance things. Yes, we want the economy to restart. Yes, we want to go back to normal, but we just need to ensure that we're taking a more balanced and objective view, as against just purely trying to push what the government. We need to also address people's concerns, because people are concerned, especially those that know their children or are just worried for themselves, because the children tend to not have major issues. It's really the parents and their relatives that if they do catch COVID, that they will get impact. I think those are my comments. Over to you, Steve.
Okay,
fantastic. I just wanted to say something about the Brazil or the Brazilian controversy. Well, looking at his profile, is actually not just the pastor and theologian, he's also a lawyer and a professor as well.
Okay.
So I guess the catching point or the attractive point is the fact that he's a pastor. So they put the professor and the lawyer and theologian at the backside, as it were. So pretty much.
Okay. Okay, so for me, I'll speak on the COVID cases because yesterday a friend sent me a Facebook post from her teacher friend in the UK saying that the school cleaner had COVID, and so now the school has been shut down. Everybody has been asked to go home. And now seeing here in the news that we have South Korea closing some schools, the UK closing some schools because of that. I think that it's just a wake up call, for what we have been saying to our own educators here in Nigeria. You can't afford to relax your guard and focus on maybe just the children or just the teachers, because the truth is you need everybody within your system to be on board with your procedures. Otherwise, a weak link can mess it up for you. Look at this case now where a cleaner is the one messing it up for them. I'm sure if we even do if we try to trace it in other schools, you probably see the other weak links like that. Maybe the security personnel, maybe the people will be thinking are not important. In this case, everyone is important. And so, as Nigerian schools are reopening and all, I will just encourage everyone to avoid a case of you reopening and having to close back and an outbreak. It's really important that you are very strict with your protocols and try to follow them as much as possible.
Fantastic. Well, it's sad to hear about that. I don't know. Do you have updates about that case already?
Which of the case? The cleaner one?
Yeah.
That was why the information I got yesterday. So the school has been closed and the children have to study from home.
Okay. Another thing, still on the COVID news, we actually have some protests in China, I think, in an Asian area where they are protesting that there's not been COVID cases. So why are they not in school? So it's the students and teachers protesting to go to school. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't get that. You see, the thing is,
Rosie,
education has to continue.
I can imagine why the students are protesting. If I think of my son is protesting all the housework he's doing, all the you don't know what their parents are using them to do at home. Maybe all the housework, all the errands up and down in the house, boredom. So then I mean, if I was in school, if I was in university, my mom would be sending me up and down to the market like this. So maybe those are part of the protest, and they're just meeting their friends as well, I think.
Interesting. All right. So, any other comments on the news? So we'll move on to the next.
I think this is just some of the events that are happening. So we have the platform happening on the 1st of October. Yes, register and watch Rotimi and I at our different webinars. I don't know how you split yourself into two because they happen all at the same time.
I was about to say,
I would just say go for the topic you're most interested in, really. Yeah. I think it's when I see there are a lot of webinars going on, almost like 15 of how many of them going on at the same time? So if you choose the topic that interests you, there's so many things, even I personally am interested in. I'm hoping that we'll be able to watch a replay and all that. And for all the school owners that are there, and you're part of Fix It. I thought Fix It was a wonderful initiative by Rotimi, Mrs. Ajala of Landela School. I think a lot has been happening. Rotimi has not said much about that because this our Rotimi has his hands in plenty pies.
It's so loaded that sometimes it's very difficult to just say something. It's something that you have to experience, better experience than better told. Another thing is that because it's exclusive to those who get to be a part of it, So I can't spill the beans, as it were. I could just share highlights. Trust me.
That's fine. Let them go and join the exclusive club, but just letting them know. Let them go and join the exclusive
Yeah,
club. And I think lastly, which though wasn't there in the announcement, we will still encourage as people are in school to go and play the safety checkup game. Well, yes, you know, go play, go sign up, go get your friends and family to sign up. I really want to thank Ifyok again, you know, for just supporting. Yeah, let's all support each other. I think that's it. Hi, Nana, we missed you.
I
Hello.
got out of my mouth. I was just about to say that Nana is online today.
Hi, Nana. I saw
Hello,
your
Nana.
feedback the other day.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. She's
Yes,
always,
thank you,
always,
Innocent, for joining. Thank you,
yeah,
Stella. Everyone that's joined us.
Stella
We
from
greet you
Washington.
more specially than normal because we know that things that work has gone back to normal. So yeah, you're with us this morning. Even me that I'm with us this morning is a special day. So thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yes, Rotary, back to you.
And then, of course, Omobola's book launch is tomorrow, 4 p.m. She's
Oh,
launching her book,
yes, yes.
Making Actionable Difference, tomorrow. So now we can start. We're talking about dealing with office politics. Dealing with office politics. Anyone who is going to work in an organization that has more than 2 people must be aware, must be informed, must be equipped about this reality. Or what do you think, guys?
Careful.
Well,
You have to be
office politics
situationally aware.
is I don't want to call the word office politics is I will call it life politics. Wherever you are, and there are more than 3 people, even in a family, there's politics. If you are in an association, even just old girls, old boys, there's politics. If you live in an estate and there's a resident estate association, there's politics because politics in simple words is just the differences of opinion, differences of interest, differences of communication styles, differences of relationship. All those things, all those factors are the ones that play up, and then result in what we popularly termed as office politics. So it's everywhere. So sometimes in some families, especially when you are the wife, when you see the politics that's happening in this family, especially when they're having events, burial, birthday, daddy's 70th, daddy 80th, you'll be wondering that, wow, this family politics.
Oh my goodness.
The family politics, you don't pass me. That's when you don't know what position your husband is in the family relative to the whether it's one of the power brokers. Okay, but I think on the more serious note, it's everywhere and it's more intense in certain places more than in others. If you look at the medical line, in a hospital, in the teaching university, you're amazed at the level of and intricacies of the politics that takes place. So I think politics is everywhere. My advice to everyone before I start giving practical example is one: once you enter a place, whether it's a family, a school, anything, you need to first of all study the environment and say, what is the political structure of that environment? What is who are the power brokers in that environment? Who are the key influencers in that environment relative to your role? And that's why I always advise people that if you're entering a place at senior management, you need to know the politics of that place. If not, you're almost dead on arrival. Actually, if you come in through a person that is not an influencer, had nothing, that role that you came in for, everybody was against it. It's almost as if when you get there, you're almost dead on arrival. So when you are at senior management level, you need to know. I know a lot of school administrators that don't stay one term in a school, and that's really because when they didn't know the dynamics of that place. So there was that school administrator role, but that thing was just the name alone. It really was the school owner that had all the power. So they were like dolls. So their value could not come out in that environment. And so usually before the end of the year, they've quickly shifted base. So my advice is know the environment. If you're already in it, know it. If you're not yet in it and you're about to enter an organization, especially at more senior levels, you need to do your research to find out what the political structure, climate of that place is.
So let me just say this for those who are just joining. I just want to read out the definition. So when we talk about office politics, basically it's saying that actions and behavior involving competition for status or power in a workplace. So when we're talking about office politics, it involves actions and behaviors. And one of the things that I would like us to share today is how that relates to the different cadre within the organization, and even sometimes to the point of third parties and vendors with the organization. So, Titi,
Yes.
right there. Yeah, so I want you to paint that scenario of actions and behavior that often we see involves competition within the workplace. Competition within the workplace.
I think there's always competition in the workplace because everybody is vying to stand out. I think what makes it become dirty, if I may use that word, is when in the end it's more perception than reality. What I mean is that the person that is key decision maker is more driven by perception than the reality. So people now know that they don't really need to do the work as against more of kiss up to the boss. So if you have someone where the person is your boss, but only likes their own opinion, they don't really believe in consultation and taking everybody's view on. They want you to just be a foot soldier, and they encourage more of what I would call circumferencing. You find that it just breeds that very unhealthy competition in the workplace. That's really what happens. So people realize that if you like do the work, if you like don't do the work, if you don't kiss up to the boss, you're really not going to go far. So I found that in a lot of places, the management tends to drive how the environment will be. The more you show favoritism, and the more you don't have policies that you're not driven by policy. So let me give an example. So someone has a health condition, and then the boss gives some financial support to the school management gives financial support. If you don't have a policy that ensures that if someone else that has that same condition comes, the person gets the same kind of fund, what's going to happen is it's going to be based on the boss, you don't know the boss. Some people are bold, they know how to ask. Before you say their property, they go and ask the boss, please, I need this. The boss will give. There's a lot of people don't ask, but they don't know that they can get because they don't ask. But that's why everything you do, you need to, quickly make it into a policy. Because the more you have policies that guide those things, the more people know that once I fulfill the requirements of this policy, then the entitlement is mine. So and the more you get more people involved in it, let it not be only one person that, when it comes to promotion, for instance, if it's going to be only one person that decides, and you already know that the person is like this, then there's going to create that competition, that unhealthy thing. But when it's time to make a decision, it's more of a group of people. Then the general consensus of that group tends to be a better reflection of the truth. I don't know if speaking in that term has helped anyway.
Yeah, it does actually help. One of the things that you mentioned also helps people to realize that um, one of the things that might hinder or that might enable people to deal effectively with the issues around competing with power or for impact or for relevance in the organization actually starts with their personalities. A lot of people don't tend to take that as a major issue. How do I manage personalities? Because one of the ways to deal with office politics is to identify what are your own dominant traits, what are your own personal attributes or personal traits. And then when you understand your personal trait, then you also need to understand what other people's personal traits are. And then from there, we now find where the convergence and the management comes from.
Yeah.
Right. Safety check. Let's hear your thoughts on, and I want Safety to give me some practical or life examples, experiences that she's had as well. Why are you laughing now?
I have to be diplomatic in this thing because this
Uh,
is this
you have to,
video will be on record.
you have to manage analytical politics.
Okay, so this is it, right? I like what you said about personality, and that's actually where I'll be starting from. I think that is very important that whoever is the leader at any office must have a really high sense of self, in the sense that you should know yourself very well, know your strengths and know your weaknesses, and then be confident in your skin, because sometimes what breeds this office politics when the leader is insecure. When you are insecure, then you are looking for people to feed that insecurity. So when people are now coming to tell you, oh, this person said this about you, and then you too, you are now becoming difficult to that person, even without finding out what exactly is going on. So it becomes a problem. So I really believe that one of the things that can help office politics is for everyone, both the bosses and even the staff, to be secure in their identity. And I think that that's a problem we really have. A lot of people are not secure in their identity. They don't even know who they are. And if you do not know that, then that's a problem, because it's easy for you to be tossed and turned because you are not anchored on the right foundation. So I really think that people really need to know themselves. What am I good at? What am I not so great at? How can I augment what what I have or what I do not have? Because the truth is, we will not have everything. We will not have everything, but wisdom is profitable. That, okay, I do not have this, but I can always get this from here, or from maybe this colleague, or augment using technology, or by reading or whatever. But by all means, do not carry your insecurity and bring it in, because that is what is going to cause a lot of problems in the organization. So example now, giving you real life. I think this will cover, this will do, Mr. Rotimi.
I'll save you from the people of the world. Okay.
Let me give an example. Let me even give an example. I once had a boss, like you said rightly, you have to know their personality. I once had a boss. He was one of these early risers. These early risers like Rotimi, they are up at the crack of before the court close. They're up at the crack of dawn. So what that meant is that they generally get into the office at 7 a.m. And then people like myself, they are strolling in at a few minutes past 8. So I found that, because they come in early, they're kind of counting down to when you resume. So that your small 5 minutes, 10, 15 minutes just gets them, they just irritate them because they're just punctual people. So he's already irritated by the time he's talking to you, mainly because, he feels late because he's an early person. So I think one of my strengths is the ability to decipher all those things when I start working with the person. So when I notice that this was the person's problem, I go out of my way on the days that I know that he most likely wants us to meet. I go out of my way to get there early. So I find that when you get there early, before 8, he's more in a nice and chatty mood. You're more likely to get more out of him. That's just the way it is. That's one person. I had another boss. who was very scattered. You know, and because this boss was very scattered, it meant a lot of times he would drop the ball. So I found that I needed to help organize him. The more I organized him, the more I helped him to be successful, the more, in fact, he was one of the most difficult people to work with. There are some days I went to throw my hands up and just say, I don't do it anymore. But I found out that, you know, he had those insecurities whereby he was, but I needed to help him look good. So even though some people say, oh, he's coming, I would have quickly done it. So when they now ask us, how far with this thing? You know, before he can get himself a job, I was, oh, you know what, discussing this, I've done it, so I've already put it on your desk, we're about to. So I became a lifesaver. People just kept asking me how you know, when we did our appraisal and he was singing my praises, they were wondering how did this happen, because he never sings anybody's praises. So what I tell people is, make up your mind, you want to be successful. Okay. So when you come in, you first have to understand the personality of the person you're going to be working directly with. What will help them be successful? How do you help them be successful? Some people will be shouting, oh, but he's taking on the glory. He's not doing as if I did work with him. That's fine. He's your boss. He needs to shine. Help him shine. But you find subtle ways to let people know that you are the one that did the work. And the more people work with you, they know that, because they've known, you see, they've known him before. They know that how to work with you, they now know that the key to his success. They come out and announce it to the office right here. You know, but if you are working in an office, go out of your way. I keep telling people, go out of your way to work with so many other influencers. So one person is trying to badmouth you because the person was upset with something you did. Other people will say, I am surprised though. You know, she's not normally like that. Oh, you know, she's actually very respectful. I get that impression from her. You don't go to a place where it's the science department. You have one difficult science department. There's an opportunity to do a project with someone else. Be the first person to volunteer. You know, because the more you have more people that can talk about your skills and your capacity, when it's time for that appraisal, when it's time for that office politics to take place, more people will stand for you. I see the same thing in family gathering. This your sister-in-law, she's bad. Go and get other people that you use your soup and your food to kill and completely get to your own side. So I want to talk about you. That's really the intelligence in playing office politics. You can identify who all the stakeholders are. Okay, what is the
Conversational politics. All right. So if you're just joining us, this is the Good Morning Education Show, and we are here. We're excited to have you here today. And if you're looking at the screen, you will see an unusual person that you don't see on a regular day. For Nana that is joining us live today, behold, Dr. Jude Prophet Ashedu has come out from his prophetic hiding. Look at his face, behold his face. He gives to him on the road. You can say hello,
not,
give him a
not 3D face. This is my real face, not the 3D face.
So no more avatar.
Good morning.
KK, you're welcome to the show. KK, good morning. KK, Titi's cousin.
She was here just a second ago.
Okay, she's
cousin,
here.
Cousin, can you hear?
Yeah.
Nana.
Hello.
I would like to hear my cousin's opinion.
Nana, we do have Mr. Jude in the house
because she's at the end of them. I'm sure she has been both at the front of it and in the midst of it. You know, being able to say from a school leader's perspective, how the staff pair politics to her, and how she herself is managing to create that environment that doesn't promote the toxicity that can come with the extreme end of politics. So, KK, we are over to you.
Yes, so unfortunately, office politics has a mind of its own. Unfortunately, it has a life of its own as well. So even if you as the leader don't entertain office politics, you still find that within the system, there are people who feel they need to fight for something, they need to fight for their positions, they need to ensure that, they're top notch. They just, it's just a selfish mindset, really. And sometimes, I guess all of us have a bit of selfishness on the inside. What we can do really is say, how do we minimize it? And ensure it doesn't impede the optimal functioning of the environment. I mean, office politics has a direct relationship with workplace culture. So because I'm somebody what you see is what you get with me personally. So being caught up in that office politics was tough for me. And what happened was I got into this space where I was alienated because I couldn't play it. It's not my thing. Right? Especially, I don't mind saying hello, hi to everybody if that's the good part of office politics, but having to make myself better than the rest of everybody else simply because I'm trying, it's just not, it's not me as a human being. So I couldn't keep up with it. And it eventually happened that I was alienated from the core. I mean, you couldn't do away with me because in terms of my skills, they're not something that you can sniff at. But in terms of the gist and eating eba together, I wasn't in that eating eba.
Why are you mentioning
because
eba?
I knew you would take me up on it.
So I have a question for you. Right?
Okay.
I personally believe that everybody needs to learn how to play with the reality of office politics. But there are two options you have while playing office politics.
That's the good office politics.
So, wait, there are two options. Number one, you either choose the selfish option or the self-pitch option.
Yeah.
Because it's really a competition. You either pitch for yourself, which meaning that you are projecting and making sure you are seen, as opposed to just being selfish and drawing things to you.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I want to ask my question.
Absolutely.
How, in the bid of choosing, the first things that happens is you have the confrontation of intimidation. How do we deal with that? Because the truth about it is, numbers actually changes the reality.
Yeah. Yes.
The network is breaking. Hello?
Can you hear me?
It was breaking. It's breaking.
It's frozen.
Yes. Oh, I think his network. I was wondering if it was my network actually.
No.
But I mean, I get.
Yes, I said, what do you do, right? Because I shared two options, right? In choosing, most times if you're trying to choose the option you're calling positive, right? You're going to be faced with intimidation at times, right? How do we deal with intimidation when it comes to office politics? Or else people move into survival mode, and then if you can't beat them, you beg.
You join them. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing in office politics, if you want to play it well, is to have the skill sets to back up your words. Okay, so don't just come and be forming I'm great when you have nothing behind you, because when that intimidation comes, what keeps you in the room and on the table is your skills that are undeniable. You are so good that even if they don't like you, they can't do without you. All right, so if you want to play office politics, then you must be that good. Yeah, so you must be in that space where, like I said, you can't be ignored. All right. If not, when intimidation comes and when that pushback comes, why you carry it on your head, you will eventually, and then that becomes a toxic work environment. So that's the first thing I will advise people to do. Be that good. Secondly, you need to understand that, you know what, your own self-confidence matters. So when people are rude or obnoxious towards you, it's just a reflection of who they are and the fact that they cannot be you, and so they want to put you down, hoping that that will shut you out. So you don't respond to intimidation, but rise above it. So if they say something, for example, counteract it with something really clever, and it eventually shuts them up. Okay, so that's the advice that I would give, because the reality is that office politics will happen, whether you like it or it's a system that doesn't support it or not. And it doesn't happen because people are, yeah, you do have the selfish part, but it just happens because people will want to pitch themselves to get better positions. But people who are small minded and don't understand the dynamics that they should be playing with will assume that they're trying to get me out of a job, or things like that. So that's my response to that question, Sarah.
I want to hear Jude's opinion.
Okay.
Okay. Office politics, like I think I talked about it yesterday, but I'll talk about a personal experience, right? So I was getting a job some years back in a place, and the first thing they told me, the first thing the leader told me was like, don't be on any side, right? Don't be on any side, because she already knew there was office politics. So she told me, don't be on any side. Just do your job. Don't take sides, right? And as I grew, or as I worked there, I found out that it was true. I should not take sides, right? But I'm everybody's friend, but I'm not in any specific group, but I'm everybody's friend. So that actually worked for me as I worked in that place. And the truth about it is, if you are going to work in a place, like Ike was saying, make sure you know what you are bringing to the table. If you don't know what you're bringing to the table, it's going to be very, very difficult not to indulge in office politics. Else you will face intimidation. Now, for me, what worked was I knew what I was bringing to the table. I knew how to advance what I was bringing to the table. I knew how to make it more valuable. And automatically, I found out that things were aligning to me in certain respect. And I didn't need to be bootlicking or pacifying people unnecessarily. Because one thing with office politics is, once you feel that intimidation, or once you don't know what you are bringing to the table, or once you can be easily replaced, it becomes very difficult not to play in that politics or not to become a part of it. But the good thing about it is, it has its advantage, but most times, most people don't know how to manage it. And the truth about it is, most leaders, they love it. They love office politics. They might not.
You're so true, Jude.
They might not come out and tell you play office politics, but they
like
love it in a way that it gives them control. It gives them control. Let me explain it. Office politics gives leaders control to some certain extent to actually manipulate or work the system somehow. But
you are right, 100%, Jude.
They might not come out and tell you we love office politics, but it gives the leaders control. It gives them. It's like, let me explain the Second World War to you, right? What Hitler did was he played with his team. He played with his team. He would give a task to a team and ask another team to like work against that task. So he played with his team. So it has its own manipulative or scheming way of actually controlling your organization.
All right, so let me just say this as we're about to take comments, right? People need to identify how this thing comes, because a lot of times it comes without them getting to really notice it. So number one, you step into, or the road into office politics, you begin to see it starts from the place of sizing and quizzing. Most of the time, people want to know where you are aligned. Just like you said, Jude. Somebody already said, don't choose side. Somebody else also will ask you, whose side are you on? Or what's your take, you know? So you begin to get sized up and quizzed. And then the next part of it is confrontation. Most of the time, a lot of people set that boundary ahead of time. So you know there is a place, there is a boundary. So you know your path. Also, we know which one you are going to do. You know, so you see confrontation, and then you see what you call clusters, cluster formation. So where people begin to identify that you have to have this philosophy, you have to have this belief. We are these people, we are the ones that make it happen, right? And then you begin to see what you call imposition, where people begin to impose things on you, impose ideas, and say, this is what we are going to agree. Now, the biggest part where you need to know that you are neck deep in office politics, and most times in a negative way, is when you begin to see it evolve into what we call communal behavior. When everybody begins to see, when you see that you are behaving alike, you are dressing alike, you are talking alike, you are acting alike, you are immersed already, been baptized, you've been initiated, and you've been whatever you want to call it.
So the hive mindset, the hive or the head mentality.
Yeah. Safety Chick, could you help us read comments as we take comments from the audience?
Okay.
Safety Chick, are you there? Safety Chick?
Safety Chick, are you there?
Safety Chick.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
She's sipping hot tea when we call her.
Nana says workplace politics can make a working environment. I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Vika.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I started reading immediately after Miss Areti called me. I didn't know you were not hearing me. Okay, so let me start from the top. Nana says workplace politics can make a working environment very toxic. And I said, I totally agree. Toxicity made me live somewhere. I've been at both ends of being the worker and being the owner of the business. It takes a lot of tact to handle office politics. I remember having a boss who asked my opinion on some areas within her business, and I told her the truth. I don't even want to tell you all about how it ended. She laughed. The odd thing was that I was the only worker of a different race. Oh, wow. I can just imagine.
Johnny before.
Then Nana says again, I remember working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before you continue, that's why I said, you need to quickly understand the personality of the people involved. There's some people that don't like to know the truth. It's like when your office does this 360 feedback and say the truth about your boss. If you've not learned that, oh boy, err on the side of caution, you can't say your whole mind about you put it on your coffin in that organization.
Oh my God. Thank you.
That's when maturity needs to come in with that one.
I would rather keep quiet. Yes, I would. What I do is, instead of me to tell a lie, I would rather not say anything. So if I know you're not doing fantastic, I will not even give any feedback because I know you won't take the feedback. Okay, so Nana says again, I remember working as an office manager.
Hold on. Safety Chick, when you have to give feedback, you have to give feedback. Silence is not accepted in some cases. So like Titi said, we all need to learn how to use
so that would be doing eye service. This particular boss would want you.
No, not eye service. Not eye service.
Exactly. I won't do eye service. I would rather not say anything about, most especially if I know that we are not going to use it.
No. This is a superior, in this case, in the context, it's a superior talking to you. So one of the things that's advised is there are very nice ways of saying certain truths. And you don't have to say all. You can even use sometimes, respectfully, I would like to just say one of many things that I think might be. And you pick an area using language in a mild tone and in a way that you can rapport the person. You understand?
Absolutely.
So sometimes
and after you have done that, the
No,
person now
safety
uses it
check.
against you.
No, see,
Well, you know,
I
sometimes
always say
I'm
that
telling you what
my
happened to me.
team knows how
I'm
to
telling you what
manage.
happened
My
to
team, they
me.
know how to manage me. Well, I guess people's
So the same
personalities are different, but my team, for example, they manage me.
I'm telling
They will
you,
tell
I'm
me, "Oh,
actually
Miss
saying
KK,
what
that was
happened to
brilliant."
me.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
yes,
I guess
but you
you're
see,
right. Safety check. There are some people who.
in the workplace, right? Even when you do all that you've tried to do and you get victimized, sometimes you need to realize that you at least know on your part you did your best. And if you are affected at the end of the day, um, you move on. That's not the kind of place for you. Another thing is, you know, even your keeping quiet can
Exactly.
frustrate some other people. And the person will say, how can I be asking you questions and you're not answering me? In fact, you're not, you know, those kind of things. So sometimes you can't run it. We can't always try to run. That's why I say self-preservation sometimes is not preservation, you know.
So let me give
So
let me give another example. Another example. So because now I was the one that was a bit more vocal to, speak up, although I would speak up, diplomatically and all that. So those that I could not speak up in the office, when something comes up, they now want me to speak up. And when I already knew I was on my exit route, I was like, no, you people will not use me to keep putting me in the middle of your matter. I just told myself, no, I'm not going to do this particular, because there was another one that had come up and they were relying on me to be the one to talk. Meanwhile, they were all frustrated. I'm like, okay, no, I'm not doing this. I'm moving on anyways. So I left.
okay, at that point, that's
Okay.
a good decision.
Let me read
Because
this
you
other.
are not Jesus Christ. There's only one Jesus Christ that saved the world. So don't try
Exactly.
to crucify yourself. It's a waste of time.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay, so Nana says again, I remember working as an office manager after my youth service, and one of my responsibilities was to give queries to workers who were not pulling their weight. I warned a particular worker a few times and gave the individual a query. She reported to the chairman, and I was asked to take it out of the file. It opened my eyes to the reality of office politics.
Wow.
It was my very first
Wow.
experience, so I was shocked. Wow.
What?
Okay, Nana says again, I have never heard it put that way. Office politics has a mind of its own, but it's an interesting perspective. Mr. Ajayi says, have the skill set to back up your words and worth. Exactly. I really liked what you mentioned, that at the end of the day, no matter the fire, it's your competency that will make them still leave you there, even if they don't like you, and which is true.
The someone is asking
Educators.
a question. I think, sorry to cut you short. We should take the person's question. Gideon Essen is asking a question. So maybe Ruth will answer his
Gideon
question.
says, how do you handle toxic work culture and tribal groups? I think Jude sort of gave this answer already when he says, don't be a
Alluded
part
to
of
it.
any group. Okay, go ahead, please.
But what if you're stuck?
You leave the environment. You don't
You
have
are
to
not a
work
tree.
there.
You are not a,
Not,
you are not a, you are not a street light. But before you get to that,
leave the environment.
No,
I
but
think
it's a valid question, guys. It's a valid
before we get
question.
to that point, when you say handling toxic work culture and tribal groups, one of the things we need to realize is that a lot of the things that we do, to the extent we will thrive at it, it requires a lot of intelligence, right? Social intelligence, native intelligence, workplace intelligence, market intelligence, people intelligence, emotional intelligence. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
intelligence that's required, because you see, that's the power and that's the privilege of people who are resourceful and who are in place of leadership. You have to contend with different realities, right? Now, we can be friendly, but we are not necessarily meant to be familiar. When we get to toxic environments, we need to realize that there's a time to fold, there's a time to hold. You will look at what is prevalent and ensure that you are not wanting. That's number one. Number two, you must bring your A game, because the thing about a toxic work culture means that there's a toxic energy in the atmosphere. And the way it works is this: superior energy becomes predominant energy. What it simply means is this: if I have a positive energy, but my energy is not fully expressed and it's not contagious, what happens is that the prevailing energy will be the negative energy. So I need to match energy versus energy. And when people experience my positive energy, it becomes the norm, right? Then begin to look for what we call quick win trophies. A lot of times, people sometimes begin to trade words and fight issues, and it becomes me versus them. But sometimes you need to take a diversionary approach where you are able to create trophies that actually brings you out better, right? And then you find what you call common denominators. There's a reason why you hear people say that somebody is a comrade. I'm sure you've heard labor people say comrade, say comrade this, comrade that. The reason why we are called comrades is because at a particular time, there's something that binds us together. So, for example, we hear that labor wants to strike. All up until the time they increase fuel, they don't talk to you, they don't send you. But when there's fuel increase or government is changing a policy, then they now say, everybody, let's join that. That's a comradeship relationship where a common goal is identified, a common cause is identified, and that brings people to work, to come together. We have religious crisis, we have tribal crisis. But when people want to fight against insurgency, you hear the Christians should move away from the faith, Muslims should move away from their faith and come together as Nigerians. When it comes to football, guess what? We don't know there's a male or female in football. When Nigeria is Super Eagles is playing football, we don't think about tribe. Why? Because there's a common denominator at that time. So, Gideon, our advice that you should investigate how can I get common denominators that will bring us together, and that becomes a connecting point, at least to create some level of.
Rotimi, can I add? Can I add?
Okay,
go ahead, Titi.
Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to. Go ahead.
There's some environments that are really, really toxic. And when you know that despite all that you're doing, you can't make a change, you need to plan your exit. You need to leave for your own peace of mind. And that's one of the comments that Nana made as well. You know, that dynamics of office coverage can sometimes be very destructive. You know, so you need to decide as you look at it. There's some that once you try and push, like what you said, bring your positive energy, never go to their level. But when you see that this organization tries on it, it's what the management wants, there's no way out. You need to start looking to exit because it can also destroy you. It can increase your stress level, it can increase your BP, it can just, work havoc on you. So you might need to consider looking for another job. I just needed to drop that there. Over to you, KK.
Okay, so we need to understand that you need to look at this from two perspectives. The perspective of leadership and the perspective of, if you're not in leadership. Now, if you're in leadership, you need to ask yourself, who are the influencers? Who are the players here? There's some people that have power, but they have no authority. They have no influence. So if you're a leader without power, authority, or influence, you need to find who are the people who have the power, who have the authority and the influence, but maybe not necessarily the power. Because guess what? If you're in a meeting and somebody says something and everybody kind of flows to that person, but that person is not in leadership, is not in authority, that person has influence. And so you need to ask yourself, how can I pull in these people as leadership into a distributive leadership framework, okay? And this is an adaptive skill that you need to learn. Find a way to get them involved in the system. If you can't get them involved in the system, then you need to get them out of the system, because guess what? There are people who are actively disengaging your employees. There's disengagement, there's active disengagement. Disengagement says, you know what, I don't fit, I don't want to do. Active disengagement say, why you they do? Come on, leave that place. You don't want those people in your system as leadership. However, if you're not leadership and you're generally just somebody who's working and you're caught up in that toxic work environment, as everybody has said, if you can't deal with it and you're not strong enough to deal with it, then get out. Okay, because it's just going to frustrate you at the end of the day and you're going to wonder why. However, if you're strong enough to deal with it, you know what, hold your head up high and keep going to work every single day. Keep doing what it is that you're doing. Try and find a way to get into that circle by showing them what is in it for you. It's tough, very tough. I know, because I've been in that situation, but I was able to crack it. Eventually I left. but I cracked it before I left. Yeah, so that's the advice I would give.
All right. Safe to take the last comment.
Okay. So Nana says again in this comment, the dynamics of office politics can be very destructive. I remember a girl who was diagnosed with clinical depression because of the ugliness of office politics. She was stressed out of the MSc program and the profession. She's doing something else now. Wow. Wow. This just reminded me of something. Last year I had finished a huge
Wow.
program and
Wow.
I was
Wow.
supposed to resume work and my body shut down because my body did not want to resume at my office. My body shut down,
Oh,
like it did not want to do anything. I'm telling you, it had never happened to me in my
wow.
entire life. And that's when I knew that it's time to kickstart my exit strategy. So nothing is really worth your mental, because especially when you keep doing all the amazing work they don't want. Just kickstart your exit strategy, and then you leave as
Yeah.
smoothly as
Yeah.
possible. No friction. They will even understand why he are going, but you just
Mm-hmm.
leave the whole thing. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
also, it would
Mm-hmm.
be nice for us to say it to everyone out there so we are balanced in perspective. You see, sometimes the problem is not the people. We know that they have probably bad attitude, bad culture, bad practices. But I think sometimes we also have on unmanaged expectation of people. We place too much pressure expecting a lot from people. We also place too much how do I put it? There's a frame we have with which we see the world. Our lens needs to be corrected. If we believe that doing well means people should deal with us nice and stuff like that. The workplace is not a crutch place. I keep saying it. So we need to recognize it's a workplace. The sentiment of, oh, look at me. Our reward is in the moment. Our reward is progressive, our reward is eventual. So sometimes in the moment we don't get some level of appreciation or reward, we should look to the progressive reward and the eventual reward. So a lot of us need to also be strong in character and stamina in character, because think about it.
Resilience.
Some people, just because you need to face resistance, ideation strategy is itself a resistance. So how much when people get that, this one says this one says that, and if we study and learn from our politicians, we might disagree with them on a lot of grounds, but they've modeled certain things that we can learn from. You find out that it's not every day that they win. They say that you win some, you lose some. Yes, you are still good. Don't lose your identity. Don't lose your value. Don't lose your character. But sometimes we need to cede victory to some of the cabals in our workplace. We need to let them have it. Let them have it. It's this. That is the flaw of the syndrome of good people. We are too voice in nature that at the end of the day, even though we are good, we miss the point, right? Sometimes you sacrifice justice for peace. You don't always have to be right, but you need to sacrifice justice for peace.
Maturity.
We had a great time and a great day today. And I believe
Absolutely.
that tomorrow we're going to have an independence edition. We're not sleeping in bed for some people. We're all going to be early risers tomorrow. And we're going to have a special independence show today.
Sleeping extra since it's a public.
I'm wishing you all happy 60th anniversary in advance. And KK, I think it's high time we had that breakfast and that lunch you owe me. So if you want to do your restitution, an independence weekend is a good time to explore your restitution. And Titi, I like looking for Titi's stuff, but I don't know why. But anyway, let me not say anything. So last one, guys, wrap up the show. Because Titi knows how to get back at me.
Yeah.
All right, last one.
All right, guys.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, it's a good one. Okay, everyone. Remember, come from an angle of value. as you enter any office place, let your value that you bring to the table always stand out for you. Try and understand the political structure of the organization you are in.
Yeah.
Never sink to their level with the backstabbing and all that.
Uh-uh.
But always look for the win-win. Always look for the win-win. How do you help the person win and you win as well? I think that's really what I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, last word.
I would, yeah, absolutely. I would say that besides having, you need to be mindful. Yeah. So practice a lot of mindfulness and find circles outside of your immediate work environment to fulfill some of the needs and to let off steam of that builds up based on your work environment. So don't let everything be centered around your work, your friends, your going out, everything. No, get out of that environment. Have friends outside of that environment. Be rounded in nature and be resilient. Look, there's always going to be somebody who's pushing back at you. Be resilient enough to say, you know what, I'm not going to let this get into my heart. I'm not going to let it affect me. But if it is affecting you, like Safety Chick said, plan an exit strategy in as nice a way as possible and just leave. But I truly believe that there's something on the inside of us that can be developed. It's called a backbone. Yeah, so develop it. Thank
I
you.
love that. That's a calcium way to end the show. You know those who used to eat bones when they eat
So I'll just add that as much as it is great to be resilient, know when your resilience is not needed at a space. It is really so important,
Yeah.
so that you don't just end up having regrets at the end of the day, because you might be so resilient, you are doing your job and everything, you are being resilient, but it is not just for where you are. It's time for you to move, because you see,
Yeah.
sometimes when things happen in a certain way, it just means that you probably outgrown where you are. You really should step into the next thing. Those are
Absolutely.
sometimes those things are triggers to make you step out. So we need to apply wisdom to know when to stay on and when to, step out into something else. Yeah.
All right. So you guys have heard it all from our analysts. We've heard it from our audience, and we've had a great time today. Please join us tomorrow. Tomorrow we will take this conversation further, and of course we'll end the week in style. Please do understand that it's important for you to go over today's show in particular, replay it, learn and glean from the wisdom from the conversation for today. It will help you currently where you are at, and also as you progress on your career path. It will help you to help others as well, so that you don't give the wrong counsel. We love you guys. We wish you a great Independence Day celebration and Independence weekend. And please stay safe. Stay safe. Put on your
Stay
nose
safe.
mask.
Stay safe.
To download the safety game. Attend platform online. Attend the book front of Omobola. I think, yes, I forgot. EdVest is having an event today. I checked it today at the School Growth Academy. Try to be a part of all these fantastic events. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share, like, and all the things that you need to do. Let us know. Thank you so much. You've been a fantastic audience. Somebody's asking us a question. Are we celebrating Teachers' Day? Teachers' Day is 5th of October.
October.
So we'll give you feedback after consultation from KK. KK will give us updates on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Great time. Have a great day. It's always a great morning.
Bye.
Bye.